Nolan Arenado is back, and he spoke with the media this weekend about the offseason and gave his opinion on the Cardinals' new direction.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I am your host for Locked On Cardinals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on X at JD Sports Radio. You can also follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. We're, of course, on YouTube as well. Appreciate all of you guys who stopped by and join the YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, and comment if you haven't already, and hit that notification button so you know when the new episodes are posted. And update, also now available on TikTok at Locked On Cardinals. You can find us there as well. The Instagram is in the works. I have been told we've got some news about that the Instagram, it is coming. It is in the works. So soon you'll be able to go to any of these social media platforms to be able to find Locked On Cardinals. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode is being brought to you by FanDuel right now. New FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Week 2 of spring training begins. Pitchers and catchers already there. Position players are here. And the big news over the weekend was the arrival of star third baseman Nolan Arenado to camp. Now, most people, myself included, didn't think this was going to happen. I really didn't. I just figured he would inevitably be moved this offseason to free up space on the payroll and the roster, but alas, no deals were able to be made, and Nolan Arenado is now at camp in Jupiter, Florida. Now, I don't know what the word to say, the narrative, I guess, that I was somebody who wanted Nolan Arenado traded. I've seen that pop up a couple of times. That's not true at all. I don't know where you get that idea from. That is not what I wanted to happen. That was the Cardinals' plan, though. That was what they wanted to get done. They were not shy about this whatsoever. That the priority, again, 1, 2, and 3, was to trade Nolan Arenado. But it didn't happen. But I was on board with the idea. If that's the route they wanted to go, I was okay with it. I had accepted that. Didn't work out. Didn't happen. And Nolan spoke with the media on Sunday about what was certainly a strange offseason for both him and the team. And I'm going to paraphrase a little bit here, so they're not direct quotes, but you're going to get the gist of it. But he said there's been a lot going on, a lot of truths out there, some lies out there. He tries not to get caught up in that too much and just focused on getting ready for the season. There was the possibility of him getting traded and a possibility of coming back, and he's back and ready to go, play ball. He's excited to see the boys. Said he feels good to be in Florida. Talked about how, switching from West Coast time to East Coast time was messing with him, but he's excited to get back to work. Just from his opening statements, it didn't appear to me, at least, that he's got any ill will towards the team or Mo. Does he seem a bit disappointed that something didn't get done? Sure. But I never expected him, if he was going to have to end up coming to camp and reporting, to sulk about anything. I didn't know when I was asking about stuff like that, whether or not, if things were still going to be discussed, that he was still in trade talks, would he still want to report just to be possibly shipped away later? That's what I always said. When it was like, if you're Arenado and you're still actively being shopped and you think you might be traded still, would you still want to report to camp, or would you just wait until things played out? Clearly, Mo came out and said that, hey, we expect Arenado to be a part of this team now. We've exhausted all of these other options. One thing that obviously still bothers Arenado is the direction of the team. And yeah, he's not going to sit there and go, well, this sucks, man. I don't want to do this. But, when they asked him about the Cardinals' plans to, what do you think about the direction of the team? He spoke about it, says, yeah, do I wish the direction was all in? Of course. But is this what's probably best for the Cardinals? Probably. I think they do need to reshape some things here and do some things. But at the end of the day, I'm a ball player. I'm a Cardinal until I'm told I'm not. Which sounds like a guy that just kind of understands the business side of what is happening with this team, which apparently is no longer being called a reset, but is now being called a transition. instead. They're switching up the lingo, which is certainly more accurate to what has transpired this offseason. So we can put that word reset to bed, basically. And per usual, Arenado, he didn't point fingers at anyone but himself, saying that, he's focused on being a better player than he was last year. And he said there's no excuse for it. If I was a better player last year, maybe things would be a little different. Maybe so. If Paul Goldschmidt was better last year, would we be still having these conversations? Would Goldie be a member of the Yankees instead of being a member of the Cardinals? We all thought that they would eventually sign Goldie to an extension, and they decided not to. They decided to pivot. They did the anti-Cardinal thing. The easy thing would have been to just bring him back. They decided not to. And one of the things that I've picked up on during Arenado's time in St. Louis is just how hard he is on himself. Every play, every pitch, he's just so focused, and he expects so much of himself that when things aren't going well, there's nobody more upset about it than him, about his own performance, than Arenado. Like he's so hard on himself, and sometimes maybe that is to his own detriment. In a game where failure is the norm, you're going to fail a lot more than you succeed in the game of baseball. And if you're a perfectionist like Nolan is, and you're very hard on yourself like Nolan is, mentally, that's got to be extremely taxing. I'm a very laid back kind of guy. If something doesn't go right, I'm one of those dudes that just kind of, we'll get them next time. Where other people are different and they focus on the bad that just happened and they can't get over it. So it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough for Nolan Arenado at this point in his career. The organization is deciding not to go chase expensive free agents and stuff. Instead, they're going to stick with the guys that they got. He's at the point in his career, too, where things are starting to go down. You're seeing the power drop. You're seeing the offense drop. You've seen even the defense has declined a little bit. He's getting older. It is happening. But it's something that he's going to have to get over. Really, I mean, there's no other way to really say it. He's just going to have to deal with it. And, this offseason, he spoke about the situation a little bit, saying that the Cardinals, they told him about this direction that they're going in. And he said he asked them to explore some things. Nothing was demanded. He made that known. Nothing was demanded. And he was told that was something they were interested in doing also. And he said basically that was it. He said there were about 5 teams. He didn't want to name the teams because it didn't really matter anymore. And he kind of, laughed about it. But he said there were 5 or so teams that he was interested in playing for. He talked about, moving his family at this point in his career and stuff. It had to be something that made sense for him. But he did say, I think the one thing about me is this place, talking about the Cardinals, is very comfortable, and that's going to help me get ready for the season. He said, I'm in the right place. I feel ready. I feel I have a lot to prove. I'm very excited to take the field, which is great. You like seeing a guy who's, you got a little chip on his shoulder, a little something to prove. But in the couple of minutes that he spoke with the media, he seemed like a guy who is kind of upset about people talking about his decline. And, he doesn't like that, clearly. I mean, it's gotta bug him. Somebody who's been at the top of the mountain at third base for so long, and for people starting to doubt you, it's gotta piss you off a little bit. I would think that a player of his stature might feel a bit slighted by the lack of interest in him from the teams that he was willing to go to. Now, we don't know the specifics. Like, that stuff has never come out yet, probably never will. But why weren't any deals ever made? The only one we ever heard about was Houston, that there was something in place. There were rumors that, if Bregman didn't go to Boston, the Cardinals in Boston might have had something cooked up already. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. But why were there no deals done? Was it the Cardinals asking too much in return, or just not willing to pay more? Were the other teams just not that interested? We don't really know. We don't know, and likely we'll never know. But the bottom line is, he's in a Cardinal uniform. He's a member of the St. Louis Cardinals, and says that he's ready to rock. He said his body feels good. Talked about doing a lot of weight training this offseason, how he actually lost some weight as well. Said he's ready to play a lot this spring. And mentally, at least to me, he seems ready to prove some people wrong and is ready to put this whole thing behind him. I don't think he wants to talk about it anymore and just get back to where he's the most comfortable, which is certainly not in front of cameras and in front of microphones talking about himself and talking about off the field things to the media. His most comfortable spot is between the lines, playing ball, and in that batter's box. And that's where we're going to see more of Nolan Arenado here in the future. Saw some footage earlier today from guys who were at camp, him taking swings against people. Looks good. Was taking pitches to the opposite field, something that we saw him do a lot more of last year. Again, that's one of the things why I feel like his power numbers, I know that they're down, but that's where he's getting pitched now. And, he's doing what he needs to do by taking it to the opposite field. So I would assume he's going to see a lot of that again this year. But the real question is, does Nolan Arenado's return to this team, does it actually make it better? Or is it holding the team back from being better by letting other people play? We're going to tackle that question next on Locked On Cardinals. In sports, having a winning strategy is everything. It is how the best teams make it to the Super Bowl, the World Series, Stanley Cup, NBA Finals, the Olympics. The same goes for life. Having a strategy like life insurance from SelectQuote can protect your financial legacy and keep your family's future secure. SelectQuote makes it easy to find the perfect life insurance policy. As one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, they've helped over 2 million customers find $700 billion with a B in coverage since 1985. And what sets SelectQuote apart, it's their personal touch. Unlike other brokers that offer this one-size-fits-all type of policy, their licensed agents tailor coverage to fit your unique needs. If you're in good health, you might even qualify for same-day coverage of up to $5 million, no medical exam required, and it's more affordable than you think. You can get up to $1 million in coverage for as little as $20 a month. Get the right life insurance for you for less. At SelectQuote.com/lockedon. Go to SelectQuote.com/lockedon today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/lockedon. SelectQuote. They shop, you save. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. Leave your comments on YouTube as well as on X anytime you want. TikTok, I'll figure it out how we get to talk to each other. I don't know. I have not done a whole lot of TikToking in my life. That's my wife's world, and she's gonna have to teach me about this TikTok stuff a little more. But just know that your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. We will get to some fan feedback in segment 3. First off, let's talk about the Cardinals. Are they a better team with Nolan Arenado? Yes, they are. People who think they aren't, I don't see how you can feel that way. Now, does the return of Nolan Arenado hold the Cardinals back from doing things differently this year than they originally hoped? Yes. Does it slow down the progression of some players to become major league players? Yes, it's true. But I've said this before. I think the front office, they anticipated when it all came down that they're like, all right, we're going to do this reset thing. I know we're not supposed to say that word anymore, but I got to take you back a little bit. I believe that the front office anticipated that veterans like Arenado, Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, that they were going to be more open to playing elsewhere. I think they just kind of assumed that, all right, so we're going to do this. You want to go somewhere, we got you. We'll help you out. We understand that, you came here to win a championship. We don't feel like we're there yet, and we need to do this to get to that point. Maybe not this year, but, down the road. The Cardinals seem prepared to go that route. They decided, it's okay. We could take a year where this is what it is, but we got to do it to get to where we want to be. And it didn't work. Removing all three guys, those three specifically, Arenado, Sonny Gray, Wilson Contreras, along with the free agent departures of Paul Goldschmidt, Andrew Kittredge, Kyle Gibson, Lance Lynn, that would leave quite a few holes in the roster that they weren't going to fill by going out and signing expensive free agents. But instead, they were going to fill them with guys from within who just may not have much of a track record at the major league level yet. I mean, no Sonny would mean you would have your rotation, if it was today, would be Eric Fetty as your number one. I mean, I guess Michaelis, Matz, Palante, McGreevy. Sounds a lot better when you got Sonny Gray at the top of that, right? You remove Contreras. and you'd still have the catching duo of Ivan Herrera and Pedro Pajes. But at first base, it's Alec Burleson and Lucan Baker. Sounds and looks a lot better with Willie's bat in the lineup, doesn't it? So when Willie and Sonny decided to stay, it really changed some things because now you're not preparing for the drop-off in production that you were expecting to see, where you were like, oof, we're taking these guys out of our starting rotation. We're taking this guy out of our starting lineup, our number 3 or number 4 hitter on most days. Caught up in a cord here underneath my desk. Sorry. You take them out, and obviously things are gonna go down, probably, right? And we don't talk about these guys as that they're just mediocre players, because Wilson Contreras and Sonny Gray are not, and neither is Nolan Arenado. MLB Top 100. They put their list out. They had Contreras at 86, Nolan Arenado at 95. Gray didn't crack the top 100, which surprised me. He's 1 year removed from finishing second in the Cy Young, and this past year, first time in a Cardinal uniform, a little bit of a transition there. 8th in the league in strikeouts, not the National League. I'm talking about Major League Baseball. He was 8th in strikeouts, 13th in WHIP, and tied for 5th in wins, but not a top 100 player in the league. Okay. The only other Cardinal to crack the top 100 was Mason Wynn, who came in at number 94. Ryan Helsley, who was the NL closer of the year and was really freaking good the year before too, didn't make it. But Mason Miller of the A's, Devin Williams of the Yankees made it. Paul Goldschmidt was number 96. If that tells you anything, after the season we just saw him have in St. Louis, he's still number 96. So now you've got Gray back. You got Willie back. You got Arenado back at third, where if he was gone, you presumably would have had Nolan Gorman playing most of the time at third base. I've been a big proponent of Gorman. A lot of people have given me flack about this. They're like, oh, you do not know what you're talking about. You're an idiot. Gorman sucks. I've been a big proponent, though. I have not given up on Nolan Gorman. But who would you rather have in the lineup every day playing third base? Nolan Arenado, right? Wouldn't you? This is a better team with Nolan Arenado in the lineup because we know who he is. We know what he is. Okay? We still aren't sure exactly what Nolan Gorman is going to be. The power, elite. We know that. Everybody knows that. Everybody sees it. Undeniable. Lots of strikeouts. We don't really know about his glove either yet at third base. Arenado's resume speaks for itself, right? So if you went into opening day, let's remove all 3 of those guys from your lineup. You go into opening day, it would have been Newton left, Ciani in center probably, Walker in right, Gorman at third, Wynn at short, Donnie at second, Burleson at first base, and Herrera catching. Eric Fetty is your opening day starter, or Michaelis again, if you wanted to do that. I'd understand if that was the best you could put out on the field, why you would have low expectations coming into 2025. I would totally understand that. I'd understand those who think that the Cardinals had enough question marks to finish in last place in the division, even below the Pirates. Some people still think that, even with the lineup that they're going to produce. But because of so many unknowns, I could understand why you'd be like, well, we don't know what the heck they can do. I get it. But you bring those 3 veterans back into your lineup. Contreras and Arenado become the meat of your order. Sonny Gray goes back to the top of your rotation, and things look a whole lot better. It's going to likely cost guys like Ciani, Thomas Ujasi, Victor Scott, some playing time or even spots on the roster initially. But I believe you're a much better team on opening day with Nolan Arenado in that lineup every day, starting at third base with Willie, with Sonny. And I know I'm going to catch hell for this and be called a homer, but I am cautiously optimistic that the team you have now, when healthy, because who knows? When health goes, I mean, anything can happen to you. But right now, cautiously optimistic. I don't see why they can't win 83 games again this upcoming season, if not more. You give me a full year of Contreras being the type of hitter he's been in his first 2 years in a Cardinal uniform, which has been very, very good. That's going to make a world of difference. You give me a motivated Nolan Arenado to be better than he was last year, at least. That's huge. You get significant progression from Walker and Gorman, which is obviously a huge if. I understand that, but it's not out of the question that they won't be better. You get Walker doing the things he was doing that first year as opposed to what he did last year. A more consistent Nolan Gorman. Herrera's bad in the lineup more than not. Didn't get a whole lot of offense last year if it wasn't Herrera catching. Mason Wynn, hopefully getting better in year 2. Even if he stays the course and is just kind of where he was last year, pretty good. Donnie being Donnie, staying healthy again. You know, the elbow injury the year before. Can't have something like that happen, but normally solid guy, right? Newt staying healthy, another big question mark. But if he does go down as your center fielder, your offense is going to take a hit, but you still got some good defensive gloves that you can put out there. And Michael Ciani, maybe Victor Scott this year. Pitching staff, Sonny being Sonny. Will Eric Fetty build on what was a solid 2024 season, his first year back in the States? Michaelis has got something to prove after 2 down years. 2 years ago, he's an all-star. The last 2 years, been one of the most hittable pitchers in Major League Baseball. You know, there was an article, was it Denton that talked to him? I hate to give credit to the wrong person, but so one of them talked to him about, you know, what's your biggest thing? And he's like, I gotta, you know, put people away with 2 strikes. He's like, it's been a problem my whole career. I gotta quit throwing as many strikes when I'm ahead in the count. Something he's gonna work on. Andre Palante and McGreevy offer some hope as young arms with upside. Can they get better? Can Steven Matz be the most effective for the team? Like, what is that role that makes him the most effective for this team and keeps him the healthiest? Because when he's out there, he can be effective. But it's a big question mark. How do you keep him out there? The bullpen, a lot of arms competing for a lot of spots in that bullpen, but you've got the strong nucleus with Ryan Helsley, Jojo Romero, Matthew Liberatore, Ryan Fernandez, who surprised a lot of people last year as that Rule 5 guy. Will he continue to be really good? Will he get better? Will he get worse? I don't hate this roster that the Cardinals have. Nothing about it is sexy. I know that. There's not like one superstar that you're like, oh my gosh, can't wait to see him each and every day. Mason Wynn's the closest thing I feel like at this point that you have something like that. But you still have some really good players that are on this team. Do they have a lower ceiling than you'd like? For sure. For sure. But the floor isn't nearly as bad with Nolan Arenado coming back, along with Sonny and Willie. So they're a better team. They just are. And guys with something to prove and being doubted find a way to step their game up a little bit. And I'm hoping that happens with a lot of these guys. We're going to hit some fan feedback next, talking about the return of Nolan Arenado. Some people like it, some people not so much. We'll do that next on Locked On Cardinals. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the games. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or face-up or want to bet on fourth quarter comebacks or third period stuff when you're talking NHL, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, and let's be honest, who's not, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. NBA All-Star Weekend is happening right now. Some people didn't like what was going on with the All-Star game. I'm indifferent. All-Star games are kind of funny these days because you're just hoping people don't get hurt, really, is really the whole idea. But in every sport, it doesn't matter whether it's hockey, basketball, football, baseball, you're just like, please don't get hurt. Please don't get hurt. Let's have fun, but please don't get hurt. Anyway, FanDuel makes NBA games even that much more fun to watch for, you know, guys like us who are in St. Louis where we don't have an NBA team. So we can pick and choose which games we want to bet on and which ones we want to watch. And it just makes things a lot of fun. Plus, the app is very easy to use, so you're not going to get all confused or anything. And when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen today. Make sure you check out Locked On MLB with my guy Sully. Brings a daily blend of humor in baseball, keeps you updated on all the teams during spring training. He recently just talked about this whole St. Louis Cardinal Nolan Arenado situation. You can find Locked On MLB on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Time for the fan feedback, where we answer your questions, we discuss your comments, and today we're going to focus on the return of Nolan Arenado and how people are feeling about it. Timothy Williams says, who wants to see Gorman make 25 errors at third base, hit 210, 22 home runs, and 185 Ks? No thanks. Screw the duets. I still enjoy seeing Arenado at third. All right. Well, screw the duets. I don't know what your opinion. You can say that if you want to. But to my point earlier, the unknown with Gorman is a little frightening, isn't it? You know, we know what we think he can be. And I've always said, to me, my ceiling for Nolan Gorman is a Max Muncy type of guy. You know, a 230 type of hitter. He's going to strike out around 150 something times in a year, but give you 34 home runs, 95 RBIs, give you that OPS plus of 123, which is what Max Muncy's is, his average in over 162 games, 123. That's where I think he can get. Now the floor, that's scary because we've seen it a couple of times in his stints at the major leagues, where he's more like Oakland Zach Geloff, like last year, where he hit like 211, 17 dingers, 49 RBIs, and 188 strikeouts. That's the Gorman we don't want. That's what we don't want. And if you hand him the everyday third base job, how will he even be at the hot corner? You know, can you live with the drop off in defense compared to what we've seen from Nolan Arenado over the last few years? You know, that might be the toughest pill for fans to swallow, is also watching him try to play defense, because he's yet to show us that he's that great with the glove either. Like, it's been all right. You know, it's not like you watch him and you're just like, oh, this guy has no clue what he's doing out there. It's just that it's been tough, you know, because he transitioned from third to second. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's just learning, kind of the way Jordan Walker just started learning the outfield 2 years ago. But it's just handing him the keys to third base. It's a little scary because you're just not sure. At least I'm not. Andy Ihausen says, I honestly hope Nolan gets a standing ovation on opening day. He's had multiple chances to get off this team, and he wants to stay. Good for him. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why the fans would be mad at Nolan Arenado by any means. In fact, most of the people that I've talked to and seen the comments online didn't want him to go in the first place. They love Nolan Arenado. They think he's a great guy, great player, obviously, going through a tough couple seasons, but a lot of people still believe in him. And your point about him wanting to stay, this is something that's been brought up a lot. I know Derek Gould over at the Post-Dispatch and STLtoday.com has pointed out repeatedly that he wanted the trade to St. Louis from Colorado, asked to be here, wanted to be here, didn't take his opt-outs when he could have, vetoed the deal to Houston, has done everything he can to stay in St. Louis. Like, he's had these chances to get out if he didn't want to be here and didn't like it here. Clearly, that's not the issue. It's not. He likes St. Louis. He likes the Cardinals. He's just disappointed, I would think, that instead of, splurging to go get some immediate help like some other teams have, that they're looking at the long-term needs for this franchise instead, which is smart on the Cardinals side. It's just got to be a little disappointing for, veteran players. Like he said in his time with the media on Sunday, if he's better and is more like himself, a more normal Nolan Arenado season than what we saw in 2024, that's a big boost to the team. And he can make any team better. Obviously it's going to make the Cardinals better if he's better. Father Time might have something to say about that. That's the only thing. It's the one thing you just can't beat unless you're cheating with PEDs. But we know he's done everything he can during this offseason. He talked about it, the weightlifting, the losing weight, taking some martial arts classes or something, working on his explosiveness. He's got a new voice as his hitting coach in Brant Brown. the pieces are in place to try and make him have a better year. We'll see what happens. It's not a lack of effort. Dennis Smith says, I'm not upset he and his family love St. Louis. He's not going to get a ring in St. Louis, but spring training could change that, or when the season is in swing, it might change. Can't blame him for not wanting to go to Houston. Adam Black says, like you said, in no way are the Cardinals better without Arenado. The left side of this infield is solid. A Cannon at third and shortstop is a plus. I mean, that's a great left side of the infield. You know, back in the good old days when we had Ozzie and Terry Pendleton, Ken Oberkfell over at third base. But I specifically remember the infield with Tommy Hurt at second and Ozzie at short and Terry Pendleton at third. And you're just like, this was awesome. This was awesome to have a defense like that on the infield. It's going to make a big difference. It makes a big difference if you can keep the ball in the yard and you got those two on the left side over there. Now, will Wilson Contreras being good over first base, saving a few runs? Because Goldie, I feel like he was really underrated. Even though he's won a couple Gold Gloves in his career, I feel like he was very underrated as a defensive first baseman for the Cardinals while he was in a Cardinal uniform. Like, I loved watching him over at first base. It's very, very dependable. So, hopefully Wilson will be okay, but we just don't know. We don't know yet. Bayo2728 says, sad if he stays. Gorman will finally have a decent hitting coach and won't see much playing time. Never seen an organization ruin so many players. Walker's in the same boat, but at least he's going to get to play. I would imagine JC and others will have the same happen to them. Just trade Gorman now. Let the kid have a chance elsewhere. I mean, Gorman's had chances. This is going to be his third year. It's not like they haven't given him opportunities to show what he can do. And he is going to get chances this year. He's going to play second, and he's going to DH, and he's probably going to play some third, I'm guessing. I know we like to bag on the Cardinals for the lack of prospect development, and rightfully so, when you've seen the outcomes for some of these guys like, an Alex Reyes who couldn't stay healthy, Dylan Carlson who just never could get it together and stay healthy, trading guys away who end up going and flourishing elsewhere. I get it. I've been right there with you making fun of him about this stuff. But trading Nolan Gorman right now doesn't make any sense. Very little sense. Because the stock on Nolan Gorman is not high. You'd be selling low, and that's bad business. Would it be in Gorman's best interest to be somewhere else? Maybe, but that's not his call. And if Brant Brown can turn him around and his bat becomes a force again, he's going to see the field. They're not going to not play him if he's slugging and doing things that we think he can do and that he's capable of doing. They're not going to bench him. They're not trying to lose. They want him to succeed. They want Walker to succeed. It makes them look good if it works out. They need both of these guys to live up to expectations this year. And a guy like Sajasi, he's just going to have to wait for something else to open up. Just the way it is. And even if they traded Arenado, it didn't guarantee that Sajasi was going to get a starting job by any means, because I'm guessing Donovan would have become your everyday second baseman. Gorman goes to third. So it really wouldn't have opened up a path for Sajasi all as much as it would for Siani and Scott in center, because Newt would slide to left, and then you would have the opening in center field for those guys. Sajasi would still be, a platoon player. It wasn't like he was going to take over the second base job. Would he have another opportunity to do that? Sure. Maybe he would have gotten more bats to do that, but you've got Hellman on the 40-man roster right now, so he can be your Tommy Edman type guy who, I'm not saying as good as Tommy Edman, don't get me wrong, but can fill in at shortstop. He can play on the infield. He can play in the outfield. So there's not a need for Sajasi to be on this opening day roster when everybody's healthy. But that's just me. Maybe you disagree. Before we end things, some news and notes. Former Cardinal Paul DeJong found another job. He's going to be with the Washington Nationals this year. And some bad news for the Mets. Pitcher Frankie Montas has a high-grade lat strain and will be shut down for 6 to 8 weeks, and then we'll need an entire spring training type of time frame to rev things back up to be a part of their rotation. So kind of a big blow for the Mets, who I hate to say I told you so, but I have told people to stay clear of Frankie Montas for a long time, many, many years, and I continue to be proved right. That it is what it is, man. Sorry you wasted your money. More proof that just starting pitching depth is so crucial in this league. And good news for the Cardinals. As of today, I haven't heard anything, but everybody's healthy. So that's good. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok at Locked On Cardinals. Plus, like and subscribe on YouTube. Help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. We'll see you tomorrow on Locked On Cardinals.